So I just want to start off first by I'm trying to understand. Like I was looking at your Instagram and I was trying to like do some digging ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So there's Wealthy Thinking 101 and then there's storyline marketing.
hmm
Is storyline marketing like a team where you're part of a team and wealthy thinking is sort of something you're doing on your own where you're that's you, or are they together, or what is the difference there?
Gotcha. Yeah. So storyline marketing is the agency name. And then when it comes to wealthy thinking 101, that's just more so a mindset. Like I've been playing with different names in terms of my Instagram handle, but overall, that's just like a mentality. Like I've always before it was called Gotivation, um, and then Gotivation turned into Wealthy Thinking 101. This was like way back in 2014, 2015, where I had it, and I've just been developing it more and more and more as time has gone on when it comes to what it means to me. Because it's more so personally for me. It's always been like a mindset because I've always been doing this personal development in terms of I've been doing this personal development in terms of just myself ever since I got into network marketing. Network marketing I got into right after high school. Um, and that was when I was in college, and I had a guy in class. He asked me to come to a meeting, and then that was when I got exposed to network marketing, where it was like a healthy energy drink, and overall, he didn't necessarily tell me. It was super skeptical if anybody's been in that it been tried to invite it to a meeting like that, but overall, something told me to go. And then I went, and it was something that was exciting. And then one of the things that they made exciting in that time frame was, the more like it's like a rich. It's Think and Grow Rich. Just that's when I discovered Think and Grow Rich. Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale, all of these the legends in terms of just callous in the mind, bench pressing in the mind. In high school, my coach, Coach Rob, he was in the gym, and then in the gym he would play Eric Thomas, and I was like, "Who is Eric? Who is this?" Because it would just be cranking. It was like, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. He showed me Eric Thomas's first video, and that video I would play over and over and over and over, just thinking back on it. Like I've never even verbally said that out loud, but that was something that I was on my repeat. Where this was early 2011, 2012, where things were freshly new in terms. Like I still had an iPod. That was like one of my
Yeah.
first like Apple products. But those are one of the things that was on repeat. It was, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. But Wealthy Thinking 101 is more so a mindset, and it's a brand that I've been splurging in terms of like just having a reference of like my thought process. And one of my biggest sayings that I've been saying recently is progression is the only obsession. So that's basically what it is for Wealthy Thinking 101 is it's a mindset to just it's just wealthy thinking. Like wealthy thinking could be how you might be able to do something efficiently and effectively. How can you do something better than what you found it? To just how can you make a more effective chess move on the board for you can so you can be in a better positioning in terms of life or that really stems from as well as like sports. These are just a few things of what that means to me, and then so I've just always carried that with pride for myself personally, where I truly believe a wealthy thinking one-on-one mindset is it's how being better than you were yesterday to how you conduct yourself to overall it's not necessarily what you have but like who those are the things that are valuable to me because a lot of the things like you could do in Uber like 2019 is when I did Uber for like 6 months, and then during that time frame I had just moved back, and I had clients. I had a Facebook client for both Instagram for a restaurant and a gym back in Michigan. And so I was waking up at 4 a.m. and when I was doing Uber, because I did it throughout the whole day at the time. Because when I first moved here, I didn't have a car, and I came back and got a car. And then 4 a.m. in the Scottsdale area where I live, um, and I realized people at 4 a.m. are going to the office, so they're going to the airport. And
Yeah.
typically, I made a post about this earlier, so this is perfect. So I've learned that people typically when you take Uber, it's almost you got to kind of sense out whether somebody wants to talk or not. Like you talk. Like I wasn't going to talk to you if you didn't want to talk to me. But however, for whatever reason, whatever I said or what was listening or whatever the case may be, it was curiosity to have a back and forth conversation, and I learned how to do that. Where in the case of people at 4 a.m., if they're nobody wants to typically talk that early, but I would typically be playing a podcast and people would have interest in, and I would ask if they mind playing it. But minutes into the ride, it would bring curiosity to ask me questions like, "Oh, what are you listening to? Why are you listening to it?" And
Yeah,
so,
that's what happened. You were listening to like a podcast about this stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Like,
see, exactly.
yeah.
So just that's wealthy thinking 101. So for me, I was reverse engineering because everybody thinks about how they want to acquire said thing. So for me, I was reverse engineering how I can get people interested in the things that I was doing. So every time somebody get in the car, like you, Trevor, like and this started back in 2019. That's why I wanted to do it. I was like, Super Bowl weekend's going to be here. I could Uber, and who knows who I could pick up. And fun fact, I picked up who was it? I picked up Travis Kelsey's and
Oh
Jason
my god.
Kelsey's agent. So I forgot his name, but overall, I picked him up, and I ended up basically chauffeuring him for like $100 per ride because I was going decently fast. So I was like, you don't mind me going this fast? He's like, actually, I don't mind it at all. And so I picked up I picked up that agent, and then I ended up picking up. He ended up having me take Donna Kelsey, the mom, from the Chiefs hotel to the actual arena because or to the Arizona's Cardinal Stadium because she needed to go there for press because she had a son on both teams. Um, but that was me
Did you get it?
positioning myself in that sense strategically of
Oh
asking
yeah.
because I didn't know who he was, but he told me like he was like, yeah, I'm an agent for I was like, oh okay, so immediately my brain is like, how can I add value to this individual's because again he's I'm like I wonder who he knows. Let alone reach out to him now, like, hey, do you remember me picking you up for the Super Bowl? So again, the things that are valuable to me are more so the relationships in my life as opposed to the currency, because that's one thing that I've always brought. That's always been a value to me more than anything. But Uber was one of the ways where I really learned how to do that because every time someone got to a car, it was an opportunity to sell myself and what I did in a condensed time. It was like an elevator it was an elevator ride, but for in this case, it was an Uber ride for sometimes 20 minutes to 15, 15, 20 minutes. And it was just a rep to be able to effectively sell myself. So, and
Yeah.
it was, and regardless of what happened, I started to get feedback of people's interest, and people's interest was a feedback of whether I was being intriguing or not. So that was something that I had gained interest in. And then out of that 6 months, so March 2019, I started Ubering, or April 2019, I started Ubering, and then September 2019, I picked up the founder of $100 million staffing agency. He was one of those 4 a.m. rides, and that ended up landing me a CMO position for a staffing agency, and that led me where I picked him up. I had a podcast on. It was like Gary Vee or something. He was like, "What do you do?" Told him I had the clients. And funny enough, the beginning of the year, I was like, I want a CMO position. I have to find the paper, but that was like one of the goals I wanted to set out. So I had an interview. Oh, I picked them up in August. I had an interview in September, and then I had an interview towards the end of the first week of September. Probably started the second week of September, but he had me come in for an interview, and that was when I basically made the proposal of if I join this, I'll stop the ads that I'm running for these clients in Michigan. They weren't paying me insane, but I wanted to get clients that were here in Arizona, and then I'll stop that with the condition of being able to advertise for all of your locations. As far as for all these staffing agencies, in staffing, it was just me providing people a job where they simply just needed two forms of ID, and then in this case, it was blue collar work where people were deflagging, construction work, skilled labor like electricians, anything in that format. And so for me, I took that skill set and I started to advertise for the staffing agency. And I started out as account manager here in Phoenix, and then that transitioned me into in September. So and then I got myself an opportunity to start to speak at the corporate event that they have where all executives show up. Maybe that was in March. So I started in September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So 6 months. I'm making like 16, 17 bucks an hour to start, and then I got a raise to like 18 bucks an hour. And then yeah, the biggest jump was me speaking to everybody because the founder really understood what I was saying. He was an advocate around social media, but that led to a busy year of 2020 where I was traveling the most because I was going to these different facilities. Like in 2020, I traveled to like Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Zeta, the Texas freeze, um, Hurricane Charles, not Lake Charles. There's different disasters going on, and they had sent me there, and that was where things were got crazy. But that all came about going back to the point where of a format of wealthy thinking 101, where I got people curious to me as opposed to talking their head off. Because again, there's always drivers that always are talking and they don't even have awareness. Like, okay, driver doesn't want to talk right now. Like, I know you got to Uber. Everyone's gotten to Uber. They just didn't feel like talking, and the driver just does not care. And they're just gonna. So, what are you doing? Or what's going on? Da, 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 da. So, I flipped that on its head, and I got it where people were asking me questions, and I use that as an opportunity to sell myself, to overall sharpen my communication skills inside a small period of time, and that's led to a whole bunch of opportunities in that format, to being interviewed like this, to
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what wealthy thinking 101 is. That's more so what that represents. Again, it's a state of thinking. It's a state of thinking about a solution, how to solve a problem, and therefore that's what that is. So that's a state of mind. And then storyline marketing is the agency of the actual work of what I've done, and how we do it and what we do and who we do it for. And so I just started that in end of 2021 when I stopped working with the staffing agency to kind of make that official, and then really aligning the story with your marketing. That was the name that was brought about, where that just represents the agency, and the name is just what we do. We align your story with your marketing, not because you say so, but your consumers say it in the and it's something you don't have to speak upon. And so that's what we do for our clients right now, is where we align their story with your marketing, based off based on being a creative first agency, where again we want to film the content that we advertise so we can have a long-term relationship and overall help small businesses in America every single time we go ahead and become a client, whether it be hands-on where we actually become a client, or you hire myself or someone on my team as a consultant, to help you, because you can't be losing all these small businesses to all these corporate giants when you have an opportunity to outperform them. But you gotta be willing to share the story. Just because it's uncomfortable, like you say, you're doing this, it's uncomfortable, but you're doing it, and you're okay with the outcome. This is what storyline marketing is, and the focus is to helping businesses that have a story that's willing to be gun ho. And if you're gun ho to sharing your story, you can honestly change the trajectory of the business that you started, or you bought into, to really be the obvious choice, where your consumers are bragging about you and they don't even think about your competitors, because there's people that want to support you, but you're not doing them a service. You're doing them a disservice by not distinctively sharing and showing why you're different. They got 5 tabs up on their computer right now, like I do right now, and we got 5 competitors, and they're like, who should I choose? But if they have some distinct content, or I like to call it a Netflix narrative of content that distinctively
I
shared
like
that,
that.
yeah, that's Shawn Severs coin right there. I got so many sayings, like it's all
Netflix
organic.
narrative.
But those are the two differences in that. So wealthy thinking 101 is a state of mind, and then storyline marketing is the agency, in itself what we do for clients, where we align their story with their marketing.